Welcome back to HTML5 and CSS3 for beginners part number 18, and hope you have completed all the JavaScript. And today we are going to see more modern and new techniques of JavaScript, including jQuery, right? And before I start the video, in case you have come in directly to video number 18, I reckon you going back and checking all the videos prior to starting with this class, right? Let's get quickly started and see what we have done so far. And we have made this kind of a website so far using HTML5, and we have applied some transitions, some effects, right, and flexible box layout with the top header, right. We still have to make the menu bar, right, but still we'll first complete the JavaScript. And what we have been able to do, we have been able to complete this kind of program wherein we validated everything, right, including the CSS effects using JavaScript. We changed it, right, including the regular expressions, right. Please enter a valid name and many different things, right. And you must be surprised if I tell you that we are even right here we can handle the complete HTML using JavaScript, right. We can handle complete CSS using JavaScript. So it has all the properties and every single thing available at your disposal, including the tools, including all the necessary tools that are required, right. And let's get quickly started with today's class. Today what we are, okay, sorry, wrong thing. Today what we are going to do is continue with what we have achieved so far. We have created a separate file for validation, which is this file, right. And in this file we have a single function for validate, right, and which grabs all the txt or we can say input element values, like grabs values from this text box, and all the text boxes, right, and which are then validated right here, right. So this is the complete validation using JavaScript. And and we can do many different things. For example, now the change for today is going to be what we have done so far. On click, we had called this event handler on click, right. On click is always going to be a JavaScript call, right. Always remember this. Using HTML5, whenever you type on click, right, it is going to be a direct call to HTML5, right. For example, if I delete this on click, so I can do pretty different things. Like I can do this, I'll go to the form, right, and I'll say on submit, right. So I can say on submit alert, and you can see that now it is going to do alert on submit, and all the validation is gone, right. No validation, directly goes to the destination.html, right. But yeah, in case of on submit, what we can do right here, we can call the same JavaScript function, which is validate. So whenever this form is submitted, right, when is the form submitted? The form is submitted when you click on this register button. Why? Because the type of the button, the type of input type submit, right, the type of the button is sorry, submit, right. And now we have cancelled this, so we have gone for this JavaScript, right. On click, you are going to return, so unless validate returns true, you're not going to let the form submit, right. So the moment it returns true, the form will automatically be submitted. Now we'll see the form will perform the same validation, right. And we can do many different things right here. For example, if you want to validate, let's say about on click or anything like that. For example, now I'll click this, I'll delete this on click, and what I will do here, I will go to this input type text, right, and I'll go to this txt register. I can say, right, that whenever I do this, I'll say whenever on, we can say on key type. Now there are many events, right. So we can say on key down, on key up, and on key press. So I'll say on key press alert. That means whenever we press any key on this first name text box, right, I'll say F. Now you can say alert comes. The moment I hit any key, alert comes, right. So that is also an option. Or you can call the same return, I can call the same function which is the return, validate on key pressed. Now whenever I hit key, please enter a valid first name. So I'll say FAH. So you can clearly see that whenever I hit anything, like you can see, please enter a valid last name. So I'll say now it goes, right? But yeah, this is what you are calling on key pressed, right? You can call on key typed, you can call on key many different things, right? So key pressed, key typed, right? So these are all events, and the different today I will be doing is, let me create this, right? So I will be making what is happening here? Why are we closing down? Okay, let me see. TR closes here, and then we open another TR here, which means we're closing two TRs, right? Yeah, should close only one. Alright, it was a mistake in the previous lecture. So let me go ahead and validate it now. Okay, I'll go back and say form on submit, you call Java. Even if you don't type this JavaScript, for example, I'll say return validate. So it's going to do the same thing, right? Even without typing the JavaScript. Now you can see it's doing the same thing. But yeah, it is recommended to type JavaScript colon, right? It's recommended, but it's going to work without that also. Right now, validation is working. Now, what I do right here, after or before the username, sorry, I will just copy the entire TR here, right? Okay. And I can create something like select your country, right? So I'll call this as txt country, right? And thus this txt country is not going to be input type text. It is going to be something different. For example, this is going to be now select, right? And I'll say select id is equal to txt country, right? So this is going to be our select. Inside this I can have option, right? I can have many options, and option has two different things, right? Option has a value because you are aware of database programming. So what we try and do, we try and recognize everything with numerical numbers in database. Why? Because of normalization and different values wherein we have to fetch different things, right? For example, I'll give this ID as 0, or let me say ID is equal to 101, right? And this is going to be the value, and the text is going to be in between here. For example, I call this as India. Let's see now what happens. Now you're getting this, select your country, India. Now we can have many different things right here. For example, I can have some countries. Let me have India, and let me have China, and let me have Pakistan. Now how do you validate this? So I'll say, how do you validate this now? Right, so you need to validate it. Now you cannot keep one country as selected, right? So that's not going to happen. Okay, now what I do here, I will make another option. I'll say value is equal to 0, right? And I will say select. I'll type here select. Now you can see that select is coming here, but we want this select to be automatically selected. I don't want India to be automatically selected. Why? Because you are having people from different countries coming and registering. Why would you, even if you had selected it automatically, someone may not change it. They may type everything and keep the country as selected as it is, right? So they'll keep it selected as it is, right? For that, either you take it on position number 1, or number 2, you can keep this property selected is equivalent to true, right? So you can call this function here selected is equal to true. Selected is called not on the select but on the option. Which option do you want to keep selected automatically? Now the moment I do this, despite of this being at the end, right, or we can say despite of this select being after Pakistan, right, and at the end it will still come automatically selected. Now you can say it is automatically selected. Now you'll have to change. Now you'll have to validate it, right? And to do validation, I'll go to validation, and what I do right here, okay, I'll go and say country, where country is equivalent to txt country, right? So now we're calling txt country, which is after contact. I'll go, all right, where is contact? Okay, it's after contact, right? You can see that contact. So I'll copy this and paste it here. So let me delete these things so that I can show you. Please select your country. All right, so now what do you want here, right? You want only 0 to 9, and you can keep it like you can see that minimum 1 2 3 4. You can keep it 4 to 20, right? You may have some big country names, all right, and you may keep it 25, but yeah, you're going to accept only integers. Now how are you going to accept only integers? So that is my question, right? How are you going to accept only integers, right? Because now I'll go back to source code, because I am giving value to everything. Let me do this 102 and 103, all right, and here it is 0. So I will say, all right, number 1, it has to be 0 to 9. No, I'm not going to accept a 0, right? Or you can go, you go and accept 0 to 9, right? And if it's not there, what you can do is please enter your country. In that matter, because you're accepting 0 to 9 here, I will keep it -1, right? So by default it is selected -1, and the validation says I'm not accepting any negative values, right, in country. So I'll make it, so I'll say country. So in country, what we are doing here is accepting 0 to 9, right, and -1 is not accepted, right? So I will say country dot focus, right? So let me see now. Okay, please enter a valid first name, please enter a valid second name, please enter a valid email address, contact number, please enter your country, or you don't have to say enter, please select your country is much decorum, right? So I'll say please select your country. Alright, now let me see. Okay, you're getting please select your. The moment you select your country, you'll not get it, and you are still getting please select your country. Let me see what are we getting in the country. Let me alert, right, country country dot, or we can say alert country dot value. So let me see what are we getting in country first. All right, so we are getting -1. Now if I select India, we are getting 101. So we should not be getting this warning, please select your country then, right? Because already getting 101. And how many characters are there in 101? 101 means 1 2 3. So accepting minimum 4. No, it's going to be minimum 2 to 25. Okay, now it's going to work perfectly. All right, fine. So let me not select it, so let me carry on. You're getting -1, and please select your country. So I'll select the country, and now I get a please enter a valid user. In that case, country is now accepted, right? Okay, now this is how it works, right? This is how you validate this kind of a thing, right? So let me get rid of this alert. All right, and now for example, we have two radio boxes, right? Or we have two check boxes, right? Or we have radio buttons, right? For example, I go ahead and I make another TR after the country. I will say select your GENDER, gender, right? It can be gender or select you have seen. Let me show you some other thing. I will say male and female. So we have two different things. One is male and another is female. After the male, I will say input type radio, right? Okay, and I will say ID is equivalent to male, right? And I will say, okay, ID is equivalent to male and value is equivalent to 1, right? So I'll keep value 1 for male and value 0 for female, right? So I'll say female and I'll say ID 0. So let us call this again txt male, txt female. So I call the txt female and this is txt male and value is 1, and let's see now. Right, so you're getting male and female. But yeah, you can see this, that you can select both. Alright, you can select both here, right? So this should not happen. You can either, or let me give it a bit of space. I'll say and NBSP. It is HTML space. So I can say and NBSP, which means HTML space. Right now you're signing. Select your gender, either a male or a female, but you are selecting both. Now what is the funda behind this? The funda behind this is you give them name. Alright, so or either name, let me try similar ID. So as a txt gender and txt gender. So now both have same IDs. Alright, so now if I select this or I select this, both are selected. So ID is not going to work. Yeah, we are going to take one value. We are not going to take value from both. Why? You either want, if I am registering, for example, if I am registering, my name is Fahim, last name is Khan, my email address is this, my contact number is this, and my country is this. Now I want one value, either male or female. I don't have to submit two values, right? So that's why I kept txt gender, only the value changes here. And apart from that, what you can do, you can even set the name as txt gender. Now the name has to be same. In order to select one out of two, right, the crack here is that it has to have same names, though we still have to use single ID. That's why we're using ID as well. Alright, and now you can see right here. Okay, now select. Now when I select everything, right, now either I can select male or I can select female. Now you can see female is selected, I click on male, female is gone. This is selected, this is, and how do you basically validate this? Now the crack is that it should have same names. But what is the crack for validation, right? Yeah, the first thing that you know, that the crack for the validation is, we can go and we can say, hey, var, make a variable var gender is equivalent to, right, I will say document dot get element by id, and that is going to be txt gender. All right, so that thing is done. All right, so txt gender is done. And now how do you validate it? Now I know I have to validate this gender after select country. All right, so I will go and validate it here. Now how do you validate? Let me first alert. Before validating, let me alert gender dot value. All right, so I'm getting gender dot value. So let me see what are we getting. All right, so now let me see. Now we are getting 1. If I select female, we are still getting 1. So this is going to be basically a problem that we have to solve, right? Okay, and this is something that we need to solve, right? Sorry. And to solve this, what we are going to do, I will say gender dot selected. So if I go with gender dot selected, well, let me go it at the beginning. So let me do it in the beginning. Let me delete it. Okay, so that I don't have to do validation, right? Okay, so if I click, so we are getting undefined. So if I click male, we're still getting undefined. We're still getting undefined. So let me wait. Gender dot selected index or selected no, because if I get the value is going to give me the same. All right, so I will get 1. If I click on female, I should get 0. But yeah, I'm still getting 1. Let me change it. Okay, so the value is here 1 and the value here is 0. So let me not get it. Now both are txt genders. How do you change the value? Okay, now let me see. It's getting the value of the first one, right? If I click male, I'm getting on. Okay. If I click female, I'm getting on. Now if I don't click on anything, I'm still getting on, right? So this is where we have to do gender dot, I can say, can I call get attribute? Can I call the attribute selected? Is it selected or checked? So let me see first whether it's selected or checked. So it's null. It's null. Yeah, it's null. So I will say checked. Right. So now let me see. Still getting null. Okay, we'll have to apply Ajax then here. Sorry, we have to apply jQuery here. But yeah, what we will do for this time being is keep the value here as 0 for female and value 1 for male. All right. Okay. All right. So now because it is value, it is going to show me null. Okay, so let me say dot value. So I'm going to get gender dot value, which is coming 1 by default. That is my problem. Why is it 1 by default? I can say that got gender dot selected index. Selected index is not going to work here. Okay, let me try this and come back. Alright, now let's get rid of this value here. Let's have some manual things, right? Because we have to call checked here. Now I got rid of the value. There's no value. So txt, let's call this txt. Let's call this txt mail. Not the name, sorry. Name has to be same. ID. So let's call this txt name. And let's call this, or let's say txt mail or txt. Okay, now we have two radio buttons, txt male and txt female, right? So we have two radio buttons right here now. Now what I will do in the validation, so I will say, alright, so now I'll say var female is equivalent to txt female, okay? And here I will say var male is equivalent to txt male, alright? And now I will say down after the country, alright? So I will say if mail dot checked is equivalent to false, and female dot checked is equivalent to false, right? So if it is false and if this is false, so I will say that please select your gender, and I will say I don't need focus here, so I'll just get rid of the focus. So I'll say please select your gender. So let us see if this works now. Please enter a valid first name. So okay, alright, so far this has worked. Alright, so now I'll say please select your gender. The moment I select the gender, now you can say it has been selected. The moment I select female, it's been selected. Now you can see this is how you validate. If male is also false and female is also false, then you are going to basically say that you please select your gender. Out of either female has to be checked or male has to be checked. If you are not checking both of them, then you are getting that validation warning, right? So this is how you do for checked items. And now we have similar to this, we have even checkboxes, radio buttons we have seen. We also have some checkboxes and different things as well. Okay, all right. Now let's shift to jQuery. And to shift to jQuery, what is jQuery? jQuery is a database. It's a modern style JavaScript database, right? Which is used for modern style like animation, sliders, slideshows, and that database we use. And it contains, it's an open source database. It contains some inbuilt functions that we inherit and extend from, and that makes that gives us a bit of ease in doing scripting on the client side using JavaScript. And for that, to download jQuery, I'll say jQuery download, right? And I'll go to jQuery.com to download jQuery. As simple as anything. All right. All right. And now you can download any jQuery version from here. All right. Okay, it is the code is here. So that's https code.jquery.com, jQuery 3.0.5 min.js. It's a minified version that we are trying to download from here. So if I go to this file, Now you can see this is your jQuery file. I will select all, copy the code, create a new file, and this time I will be again creating a new JavaScript file, and I'll paste all the jQuery code here, and I will save this file. I'll say now I want to save this inside the same JavaScript folder, which is the JS folder, and I call the jQuery. What was the name? It was jQuery 3.0.5 main dot. It's a minified version. Alright, so let me copy this again, and I'll say jQuery 3.5.0 main.js has been saved. It has some error. I don't know which sort of error do we have. Okay, maybe we haven't copied all. It looks we have copied all, so let me copy it again, paste it. Yeah, now the error is gone, so we don't have any error now. Now the jQuery file has been created and included. The first thing that we are going to do, right, so let me just delete, or let me just close this function for the sake, right, so we're not going to use it, right? So I'm not going to have anything here. On submit function I will delete, right? Alright, so let me see whether this jQuery works or not, and for that I'll grab this ID which is txt submit. Now the difference here is I used to call it from here. Either I would say on click, right, on click you go to validate function, or you do something, right? And or what we have learned so far, we can go to the form and say on submit. So these are two different things that we have learned so far, but today what I am going to show you is a very different thing. What I can do here, I'll go to my same validation.js, and now I'll use jQuery style. I will say $, $, is always jQuery, right? And I will call the button. I say, hey, I want to generate event handler on this button, which is txt submit dot click. Whenever this button is clicked, now this is the end. Now this is the code. This is the code. So it means whenever txt submit is clicked. Now what do you want? I'll go inside the parenthesis here, and I'll say I want to create a dynamic function here, right? Once you have created function, you have to give parenthesis to the function and expand it. Now this is your event handler. Instead of typing on click there, what we are doing, we're calling the button from JavaScript file. Let me say alert, right? So this is the difference, and now we are not going to get it. The reason being, okay, what has happened? Okay, is this the file? Yeah, so we're not going to get it, so it's not going to work. Why? Because this kind of jQuery function requires access to the jQuery library, and well, I do right here to include the JS library should be my first job. I'll go inside the head section before I have included validation.js, because now I know validation.js requires to run jQuery, right? It requires to run a jQuery function, that is txt submit.click function, right? It's not basically txt submit, it's hash txt submit. We know that we call id by hash. Now if I go back to source code, and if you see input type submit, yeah, it is submit, but yeah, it has an id. So id is denoted and called by pound or hash, what you may call it, right? So that's why I said hash, which is id txt submit dot click function. But I said it is not going to work, right, unless you have the library included. So let me include the library. Now one thing is sure, first things first, that validation.js may require jQuery. Why? Because it's already using jQuery, right? You can see validation.js, first thing that it uses is jQuery code. So for this kind of code you require a library. So that's why I'll go ahead of this. Before jQuery, I'll say script type. I will say script type is equal to text slash JavaScript, and I will say source is equal to, I know that it is inside JS, and the name of the file is, so I'll go to JS, or maybe this is the name. Okay, what is the name? jQuery 3.5.0 min dot JS, right? And since you know it's a separate closing tag, we don't close JavaScript like this, it's a separate closing tag. I'll separately close it. Now let me see, after including the jQuery file, whether the software works in the same manner. Yeah, still jQuery is not being included. I'll right click, go to inspect element, or I'll go to the page source, and I'll check whether jQuery is included. No, jQuery is not been included, right? Because I have written a wrong address. I have to write go inside JS folder and then call jQuery 3.5.0.main. So I'll again check. Now this is how we rectify error. First see whether the file is included, go to page source, click, and now no, it's still not included. Why? I saved it somewhere else, I suppose. Let me see. Now this is my jQuery file, and where have I saved it? HTML website. I go to JS, jQuery 3.0.5 main.js. So why isn't this included here? I haven't written .js. Yeah, there are lots and lots of mistakes. This is how you debug mistakes when you go and manually check whether you included the file or not. So I'll again go to page source and see if the file, and now you can see the file is included. So debugging part is done. I'm having some tongue twister these days. Alright, now so let's click on register, and it still does not work. Why doesn't it work? So okay, maybe because of some history problems. No, it still doesn't work because it should show me an alert, right? If I go to jQuery, so it should show me an alert. So I say txt submit dot click function alert. Yeah, I should be able to alert, right? So there's no other option but to alert it, right? Alright, so let me see again. Maybe we have something wrong with the jQuery file. Okay, I don't know. If I open, so let me go ahead and jQuery, I must have it somewhere. Okay, we have the jQuery 1.4.2 minified version. So let me use this and see whether it works. I'll copy paste this and see whether it works. No, maybe we downloaded a wrong version, right? Okay, let me try some other version. I have this file. Yeah, this is jQuery 1.1.1. okay, let me copy. There are many jQueries available, so we'll have to look for the correct one, right? Alright, so now the jQuery file is downloaded and the jQuery file is ready. Alright, so no, what am I doing here? Okay, now we have downloaded it. Now let me see whether it works. Click register, it still does not work. That means we have some problem here in the code. So jQuery is, I've used many versions of jQuery, so now this kind of code with it should work. So let me clear history first. Clear history. All right. Now you can see it still does not work. So let me go to page source, jQuery 3.5.0 minified version. Yeah, now it's included, but why doesn't it work? Alright, so now let me go ahead. First things first. Maybe I written some wrong code. So let me say instead of document.getElement by ID, I'll say something else, but yeah, let me see first. So I'll say $#BT. What was the name of the button? Submit. Yeah, txt submit. What is that? Txt submit. Yeah, it is id is txt submit. Yeah, so I will say that validation txt submit dot click, right, and I'll go inside. I will say it is a function and open braces, close braces, terminated, right, and then I'll say alert hello world. So now it should work. All right, it's not working. So that is the problem. That is the problem. Right? Can I say? Okay. Let me do one thing here. Let me go to the source code. So let's not include this validation.js. Let me go to down here in the body section and say script and close the script tag and use this code here. It should, yeah, now you can say hello world. Now the only problem we are facing is everything is right, guys. Need not to worry. What will I do here? I will take this JavaScript validation code not in the header because header requires libraries. So it's too much. It's happening at the same time. So what I do, I'll take this code in the after the footer in the body at the end. All right. So now this validation.js will be included at the end and jQuery included on top, right? Let me go ahead and test now. Right now. So now we have problem here since we have included jQuery file, and now we are having problem here that it including in including will we try to include JS right here. It is creating some problems. My God. Let me keep it here and try and refresh. Should not create. Yeah, it is creating some problems. And I have used the same code here in the no, it's not creating problems. We deleted the code. All right. So let me write the code again. So I'll say dollar hash txt submit. You may get worse of the code again because I write it again and again. Dot click, inside click parenthesis, we go for the function and enclose it and say alert. Please do not worry. Right, so I've saved it. Carry on. Yeah, now you can see now it's working. Please do not worry. Right, so bugs are meant to come once you are developing softwares. So I'll take it back in the body section after the footer, so that's much preferable for this kind of a file. Now let me try for the final time. Yeah, it's working absolutely fine. Now you want to validate, right? Now what I do right here in this validation.js, we know that our validation is happening in this validate function. I'll either call the validate function here, right, and I'll say okay. Whenever you click on the function, call the validate function. Now the validation is going to work absolutely right. Now you can see, but yeah, it is again what's happening here, again being forwarded. So for that we know that we have to return false so that the submission of the form is stopped. Now you can see, please enter a valid first name. I write my first name. Please enter the valid last name. Please enter a valid contact. Now select Pakistan, and now many different things. Now it has started working fine. Right, either delete this validate function, we don't require it, whatever code we have, right, so we'll take it out of the function, right, and paste it here. So now we don't have any function. It's an anonymous function now, so we don't have any function. We have a piece of code which is called whenever txt submit button is clicked. And now why are we using jQuery? Many different things. I don't have proper time. I have time constraints, so it's like let me see. Yeah, we're already at 44 minutes, right? Many different things, but yeah, I'll show you the glimpse of one of the things. That why do we use jQuery, right? So what I'll do this here, right? Message.inner label, right? Inner HTML. What I say, I'll not do this. I'll use it in jQuery style. I will say, hey, wait a second. Right, you are the message label, right, and I will say message label is not like this. I'll not go with these things right here. Right? Okay. Or what I can do, message label is dollar. Right? It is as simple as anything. I'll say hash message label, right? It's going to be this message label, right? And then you say message label the inner HTML. I'll say no. I'll call a function dot HTML, right? And I'll go ahead and say this. So it's still it's same thing. What different are we doing? All right. Dollar we're calling hash, which is the ID message label, and we are not using is equal to HTML. We're using a function message label and then calling HTML function. Please enter a valid first name. You'll say, sir, what different are you doing? So I'll say I'm not doing anything different, but you can see it's working in the same manner, right? It works like it was working earlier. But yeah, just to show you the glimpse after I close down today's class, instead of, right now you can see here, I say please enter a valid first name. I'll say instead of this I will say dot fade in 1000. So I'll use 1000 fade in effect. Now we have started learning the JavaScript jQuery effects. Now if I refresh it, now you can see, now you know that in order to fade in you have to fade out. You get me? For example, if something is already visible, you'll not be able to see fade in effect of something that's already visible, right? Let me give you an example. For example, we have something that is already visible. Now, for example, this is the effect. Look at the effect here. If I say, now this is the effect. Now you can see it's fading in, fading out, fading in. But now already if it is available here, in order to fade in, you need to fade it out. Once it's faded out, only then it can fade in. Right? Once it's already there, you cannot fade in. Even if you say fade in, it's already there, so it's not going to work, right? So fade in, fade out, fade out, fade in. Or you can hide. For example, for this, I will say, initially, I will say, I want to hide the message label. Now see, this is JavaScript. Now once it is hidden, only then fade in can happen. Right, now you can see. Now you can see this effect. Yeah, please enter a valid first name. I'll show you again. See the effect. Maybe you'll say, sir, I'm not able to see. I'll say, okay, I'll show you. Don't worry. 2000 milliseconds. I'll increase it to 2000 milliseconds and you'll be able to see it absolutely perfectly. Now you can see the fade in. Now, why is it fading in? Because I say first it has to go. I'm hiding it. Go and then fade in, right? Fade in will not work unless it's hidden. If something is already there, now how can I fade this in when it's already here? So that's why I say go and then fade in. Go and then fade in. So this is just glimpse of jQuery. That jQuery is basically a C. You can do C of things with the same jQuery, but yeah, time doesn't permit me. Do share your work and complete today's program, right? And what you got to do is, yeah, we'll have to change everything here. We'll have to go to modern jQuery and replace JavaScript. Doesn't mean you should not know JavaScript. Please get well versed with JavaScript. Practice very hard, right? Validation is the backbone of web application, right? And verification, then when you learn the server-side programming and server-side scripting, you'll know how verifications happen. You don't have time. You should not have time. You have to practice hard and you have to practice a lot. Let me know down in the comment section, or you can message me if you require my help. And till tomorrow, goodbye. See you.